Have you ever had one of those moments where everything just felt utterly pointless? The same routine every day, leading nowhere in particular. And yet, somehow, we still wake up, go through the motions, and keep on living. Whenever I find myself in that place, one person always comes to mind, and he's my inspiration for this video, Albert Camus. I think it's because Camus begins where a lot of philosophers seem to end. Instead of asking whether life has meaning or not, he accepts the possibility that it doesn't. Despite our longing for purpose and meaning, the universe stays silent. No clear answers, no explanation. And because our access to reality is limited to the world as we perceive it, we're deprived of ever fully understanding life. It is this confrontation between our search for meaning and an indifferent universe that Camus calls the absurd. Once he accepts that absurdity, he asks a different question. How do we face that silence? How does one live without meaning? In his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus makes his intention clear. He isn't trying to prove that life is meaningless. He's asking, what follows if we find ourselves living in a world without inherent meaning, and whether a life like that is still worth living? He examines the different responses people have when confronted with the absurd, and the first one is suicide. That's literally how the book started. There is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. To me, it also feels like a logical question to ask. The continuity of any meaningless action isn't necessary. Whether it stops or not is as meaningless as the action itself. At first, I expected Camus to arrive to the same conclusion too, but that's precisely where it surprised me. Camus rejects suicide entirely. It's unacceptable to him. He believes suicide eliminates one side of the confrontation. If the absurd exists because of the relationship between human beings and an indifferent universe, then ending the human side of that relationship doesn't solve the absurd. It simply removes the person who experiences it. For him, the absurd isn't something to escape, it's something to confront. But rejecting physical suicide doesn't mean we've stopped trying to find ways to escape the absurd. It just means we ruled out one of the escapes. And according to Camus, there's another response that is far more common and harder to recognize, and he calls it philosophical suicide. If physical suicide ends the confrontation by removing the person, philosophical suicide ends it in a different way. Instead of changing our existence, it changes the terms of the confrontation. Faced with uncertainty, we leap toward absolute answers. We convince ourselves that we've found a certainty that lies beyond what we can honestly know. The absurd hasn't disappeared, we've simply stopped looking at it. Camus discusses religious faith as one example of this kind of leap, but his criticism extends beyond religion itself. His concern is with any attempt to escape the absurd by claiming certainty where uncertainty remains. For some people, that leap is enough. Camus simply couldn't make it himself. If neither physical suicide or philosophical suicide is the answer, what remains? Camus' answer is surprisingly simple. Revolt. Not a revolution against the world, but a rebellion against resignation. To revolt is to refuse both despair and false certainty. It is to look directly at the silence of the universe without pretending it speaks, and still choose to live. Not because life suddenly has a grand purpose, not because the absurd has disappeared, but because the act of living itself becomes the response. To explain this, Camus turns to an ancient Greek myth, Sisyphus. Sisyphus, condemned by the gods, is forced to push a massive boulder up a mountain. Every time he reaches the summit, the work rolls back down and he must begin again forever. At first, it sounds like the perfect image of a meaningless and dreadful existence. An endless task. No final achievement. No lasting reward. It kind of reminds me of the human condition, and that was his goal. Yet Camus asks us to imagine something unexpected. What if Sisyphus knows all of this and pushes the work anyway? What if, instead of hoping the punishment will one day end, he accepts it completely? According to Camus, the moment Sisyphus walks back down the mountain to retrieve his boulder is the moment he becomes free. The gods can control his fate, but they cannot control his attitude towards it. His awareness becomes his victory, his lucidity becomes his freedom, and his persistence becomes an act of defiance. Camus ends the essay saying, "One must imagine Sisyphus happy." Not because his struggle has become pleasant, but because having accepted the absurd, he no longer needs the universe to justify his existence. Maybe that's why Camus continues to resonate with me. It doesn't ask us to ignore the difficult questions. He doesn't rush to answer them either. Instead, he invites us to keep living in spite of them, to find dignity, freedom, and even moments of joy, not after solving the mystery of life, but while living inside it. Perhaps that's enough. Sometimes I like to say, I don't know, and it's okay. Like the best ever, girl. You need to like this, girl. Oh, hi.